I'd like to try to timeline my breast implant illness struggle over the years, now that I have come to terms with the fact that this must be why I've been sick for so long. So I am 48 years old now. I had my first set of breast implants put in at the age of 20. And shortly after, probably within about a year's time, I was having some issues, just never feeling very good, and kind of, back and forth to the doctor, and was eventually diagnosed with chronic fatigue syndrome, chronic anxiety and depression, and unexplainable pain, which now I believe they define that as basically fibromyalgia, which I do have. So the doctors basically said there's not a whole lot we can do for you. They tried putting me on some different kind of antidepressant, anti-anxiety medications, but my body tends to be super sensitive, and I was unable to take the medications without having kind of the debilitating side effects that would come with them. The side effects became more troublesome than what they were trying to help me with. So that didn't work out. So what I had to do was figure out a way to manage my issues. And sadly, I found alcohol to be quite the perfect crutch for a very long time. As far as for the anxiety, it would take that away and just kind of level me out. And then for depression, it would kind of bring me up and cheer me up on the days that I just felt very blah, and definitely would numb the pain. So I just kind of used that, throughout a lot of my adult life, kind of through my 20s and into my 30s. And I just like to party and have fun. And I do think a lot of it was just, I was at that age where a lot of us were doing that, but I was definitely using alcohol, not just as a social thing, but definitely self-medicating. I do remember when I was in probably my mid-20s, there would be times that I would be, say, like sitting around with a boyfriend or something like that, and I would just say, I don't know what's wrong with me, but I just feel like this sense of dread and like I'm dying. And I wouldn't even really be sick in that moment. It wasn't like I had some sort of physical thing that was going on, but I just felt deep inside of my being that I was dying from something. It was a kind of a deep-seated fear and angst, and just feeling like death. And I've actually read in some of the support groups that I've been in that other women have had the same thing. So I didn't know at the time, but that must have been something that was going on. Maybe my body was already wondering how to get these things out, and feeling dread because that they were in there and causing me illness. So that's kind of what I dealt with throughout my whole adult life. And there were always different symptoms. I was in and out of hospitals there were times where I thought I was having a heart attack because the pain was so intense, and then I would end up in sort of like a panic attack. And again, EKGs and MRIs and CAT scans and all different things always came up negative. Everything was fine. The doctors couldn't figure out what was wrong. Same thing would happen with other pain. I remember I had some abdominal discomfort, and they would think that I had appendicitis or, gallstones or something. Nothing. I'd go in and I'd have all the symptoms for all these different things. They couldn't find anything. And again, I was left feeling with, well, then what the heck's wrong with me? I'm not coming here for my health. I've basically been in and out of doctor's offices my whole adult life. Again, complaining of this, that, or the other thing, running different tests, sometimes finding, minor things here and there, but nothing that would really fully explain why I was in my struggle. And honestly, over the years, I thought I was insane. There were times where I literally thought I need to get put into an institution. Like, I feel like I'm losing my mind. I don't feel good all the time. I'm stressing, I'm anxious, I'm depressed. There's all these things going on. I think that I'm sick, but my doctors tell me I'm not. I mean, there was a lot of just full on, I think I'm going crazy. Do I need to just be committed? And again, I just started drinking more and more and more because the alcohol just made it all go away. I didn't have to overthink it. I didn't have to feel it. I just, that worked for a long time until it didn't. Basically what started to happen, I think it's just because alcohol is not good for anybody, but my body tends to be more sensitive. And then I think because my body was dealing with all of the issues from the breast implants and the toxins that were swimming around from them, and then, you know, I'm pouring more toxin in by drinking, and my body just stopped being able to drink. Like it was already becoming a problem in my life. I was depending on it too much, and I was getting to the point where I was not able to function without it, and so it was really becoming a problem. And I kind of knew that, but then also I would literally have one drink and just be sick as a dog. So my body rejected it before my mind actually came to terms with the fact that I needed to make a change and drop the bottle completely and get some help. So I, you know, fast forward all the years to the point where I finally get to the point where I've hit my rock bottom, which was more physical than mental. My body just wouldn't let me drink, and then I realized that, you know, I've got to figure out how to survive without alcohol. So went to AA, got my life together, and all good there. And then decided to, I've always been into health and fitness. I've always helped people with health and fitness, but I decided to really, instead of just having that sort of just be something additional that I did in my life, I prioritized that in my life. So I started exercising regularly. I decided to actually create a career in health and fitness and become a personal trainer, actually be able to make money, make a living doing something that I was passionate about instead of just the typical jobs I'd had before, office management and, you know, administrative and all that. So that was great. I was taking really good care of myself, exercising regularly, helping others. So I was in a good headspace. I felt happy. I felt like I had a purpose in life. I started eating a lot better. Just everything was really good. And then I started having some different pain than I had ever remembered having. Some of it was probably because I wasn't numbing pain anymore with alcohol because I was clean, but it was just, I just felt different. So back to the doctor I went, and I explained that I was kind of concerned of a possibility of rheumatoid arthritis. I had already been diagnosed with osteoarthritis in certain areas of my body. I knew what that felt like. This felt different. So they went ahead and ran blood tests and came back with, no, you don't have rheumatoid arthritis, but you have 4 other autoimmune diseases going on. What? Okay. So lupus, scleroderma, mixed connective tissue disease, Raynaud's disease, all diagnosed, and then shortly after fibromyalgia came in as well. And I was just dumbfounded. Like, what in the world? Here I am finally getting my life in order, on a healthy track, and now I have all of this. Like, what the heck is going on? So here I am again, feeling like I'm losing my mind, don't understand why I'm sick, what's going on with my body. Doctors couldn't figure out why I had all these things going on that I just simply did. So I decided to, I tried some of the medications. Again, my body being sensitive, couldn't take it. So I tried to do things like the alternative way. So I started eating much more healthy, more clean diet, tried to avoid processed foods, processed sugars, and so forth. I basically started to kind of come to terms with being healthier and creating more of a balance in my life. As I was doing these different things, I still proceeded to get worse. So I'm trying to make all these adjustments in my life of eating healthier. I've already stopped drinking. All these things are going on, and yet for whatever reason, I'm getting diagnosed with autoimmune diseases. I'm feeling worse all the time. My pain is going to a different level and different kinds and just more stuff going on. Like every day it just seemed like there was more and more. So that all started to happen about probably 4+ years ago. Now, as I'm going through all of that, I just continue to push through because that's what I do. I continue to do my job. I continue to move forward. I'm going, to the doctor, trying to get help, trying to figure out what to do. The pain progressively, basically what started happening is the pain just kept getting more and more and more. So then the next step for me was, okay, well, if I can't take medicine, what can I do alternatively? So chiropractic work. Started seeing a massage therapist on a regular basis, thinking, okay, well, I'm working out so hard because I am a personal trainer and I do love to work out. It's my therapy, keeps me sane. So my muscles are just sore. Okay, going to a masseuse once a week. Started going to an acupuncturist, hoping that would help. Was still seeing my bioenergetic therapist, making sure that my head's on straight. So I'm doing all of these different things, trying to manage all of the systemic things that are going on with me, and yet I was still getting worse. So I'm creating all these ways of balance in my life. I started meditating on a regular basis, got a lot closer with God. My spiritual life was good. Like literally everything in my life couldn't be more on a healthy, even keel, and yet I was still getting worse. So everything that they're telling me to do alternatively and lifestyle-wise, nothing's working. Fast forward again, finally I think, okay, now what? So I end up deciding to take a jump to getting, I guess, a more in-depth medical evaluation because everything locally that I was doing, I wasn't getting any answers. Don't really want to blame it on the doctors, but I just feel like they didn't understand what was going on either, and so whatever. So I went to Mayo Clinic in Arizona. I spent a week and a half, almost 2 weeks, I think, in early January. Had to go back again early February of just this year, 2019. And they ran every test that you can possibly think of. I mean, everything. They did find different things that were going on as far as like my autonomic system, my inner balance being off, my sweating was abnormal. Gosh, there were so many things. My endocrine system was off. I couldn't get with an endocrinologist at the time, but that something was off with my blood sugars, which was possibly causing or explaining why I couldn't eat processed sugars without completely getting drunk from it, and then having the double vision after I would eat, or the dizzy spells, just all of these different things that were going on. But again, when I'm at Mayo Clinic, and let me just interject here, I specifically asked a couple of the doctors, do you think my breast implants could be playing a part in this? If we can't come up with any other answers, could it possibly be that? Is that why my autoimmune and all these different things are going on? And every time they would say to me, there is no medical proof that breast implants cause autoimmune disease or cause this or that. So in other words, no, you're fine. Your breast implants are fine. So again, I'm dealing with top doctors in the world at Mayo Clinic thinking, well, they have to know what they're talking about. Can't be my boobs. So I left Mayo Clinic feeling a little bit better because I did get some answers as to why I was feeling different things, like the neuropathy causing the shocks throughout my body, and the skin feels like it's crawling, and the balance issues, and the dizzy, and the endocrine issues with the double vision and the blood sugar and all these different things. They sort of, I guess, gave me a little clarity on what was kind of going on, but still there was no real answer as to why these things were going on. There wasn't a why to it. And when I met with integrative medicine regarding how to manage what I was dealing with and my health issues, he basically suggested that I meditate, acupuncture, chiropractor, create balance, anti-inflammatory diet, all these things he's recommending that I do so that I can feel better. And I'm thinking to myself, dude, I've already been doing all of that for at least a couple years now, and I'm still getting worse every day. Like, that's why I ended up at Mayo Clinic, because even all of these things that I was doing that they're suggesting that I do at this major place, it's not working. So at that point, I was a little bit like, are you freaking kidding me? I mean, what the hell is going on? So, I was talking to my mom about it. My mom had breast implants many, many years ago, and when she started hearing some of the different things that I was sharing with her, she said, you know, honey, I just remember that, you know, I had a lupus diagnosis, and I was told I had fibromyalgia, and blah, 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 blah. And she had had silicone implants, and one of them had ruptured, and she got them taken out, and sure enough, after a few years, she got better. But that she had had these different things, it had been her implants, and she got better. So she said, you know, I know you have a lot more going on than I did at the time, but could it possibly be your boobs? I think I didn't really want to accept it. I didn't really want to hear it. I know that I guess actually a couple clients had mentioned to me that I had mentioned it to them a few times. Maybe it's my boobs. I don't even remember doing it, so I think I blocked it out, because I really think on a deep level I didn't want it to be my breast. Because I do love them. I've always loved them. I've wanted larger breasts since I was a young child. Before kids even, I think about boobs, I was already wishing that I would get them and hoping that I did. And then when I didn't, I was so thrilled when I could actually put them in myself and you know, make the figure that I wanted. So anyway, I don't think I wanted to believe it was my boobs. Maybe that was part of it. So there was maybe a big denial factor in all of it. But nothing else was answering my questions. Doctors didn't know why. All I know is that I have been living this reality of a body that feels like it is literally circling the drain of death, because every day I have something else. At this point, my body can't even process food without some major reaction, no matter how boring and plain I eat. So many symptoms. I mean, it literally, like every symptom that's on the list, I pretty much have had at one point. I mean, I remember back in the day having hives on my face. I remember back in the day, shortly after, having this rash that was all over my face like an acne but not. And thank God those things dissipated, but I did have them. When I look back at when I got implants in, these things did happen. So then I started to really question, could it be my boobs? And I Googled it, and I was absolutely floored when I brought up breast implants and health issues or whatever, however I Googled it. I landed on some websites that started explaining the symptoms of breast implant illness, and I was completely in shock. Like mouth on the floor, can't speak, shock. I ended up in the support groups that are on these websites, these Facebook support groups. One of them has over 61,000 people a part of it. And I started reading their stories, and I started seeing my story in their story over and over and over again. And I was like, oh my God, it's my boobs. So, all these years, I've dealt with all these struggles. Basically, lived a life that was hard to live. I mean, I'm not kidding you. Every day was hard. I have thought about suicide several times in my life, because it got to the point where I don't want to live like this anymore. It shouldn't be this hard. When your mental and your physical being are just not right, and you feel it, and you go to the doctors and they can't give you any answers as to why you feel that way, and they can't offer any solution to make it go away, and then you try everything on your own to make it go away, and that doesn't work. It literally is the most horrific way to live. that's the only way I can explain it. I did my best to cope for years. Alcohol actually did save me for a long time. I mean, I don't ever want to tell anybody to do that, and I don't recommend it because it absolutely destroyed my body and was not good for me, and was affecting my life in a very poor way. But God, if I wouldn't have had that, I don't know if I would have gotten as far as I did. But whatever. It's sad that it had to be that. Like, it just, I look back now and I think, oh my God, like all of the years that have been a struggle for me, and it was all because I decided to place a toxic substance within my body, and then I asked my body to keep me safe from it. And the only way the body can do that is to fight it. And while that body, my body, is fighting the toxins within it to try and keep me safe, all the other things that it needs to work on to keep me alive, it cannot do very well. Wow. I mean, really hear that. Think about it. Visualize it. The body can only do so much. And what has happened to my body is over all these years, it has been fighting for 28 years to keep me alive, to keep me safe from toxins that are trying to kill me. And my body's fight has worn it out to the point where it is done, it is failing, and I am now at the point where I'm practically bedridden. I have days where I can barely move, debilitating pain. I can't work. I've had to quit my job that I absolutely love. I can't go out and be active and do all the fun things I like to do. I like to be outdoors and do things. I can't do all of that without a major struggle. I can't spend time with my friends. My life with my husband is not that, I mean, it's great, don't get me wrong, but it's hard. I mean, he has to deal with me being this way, and that can't be any fun for him, and that puts stress on him and on our marriage. My animals are neglected. My dog doesn't get walked like it should. I had to give up my horse. Somebody else is riding my horse because I can't ride. All of that, I have given up all of that. I am literally circling the drain. That's what my reality is over all these years. So I can't stress it enough. It gets worse and worse and worse until you get to the point where your body is basically ready to die, and you pretty much want to. So my explant date is tomorrow, March 11th. I am terrified going into it. I'm afraid of what I'm going to look like. I am sad about letting go of my breasts because I really do love them. I'm not quite ready for it, but I also know that it's not fair to my body. It's not fair to the people that love me to go on living, or should I say dying, this way. It's just not fair. So I am going to take a leap of faith. I am going to trust that on the other side of this, that I am finally going to find a freedom in life that I have never had, at least not since I've had implants in my body. I am hoping that I'm going to find a way to live with less pain, less anxiety, less depression. I'm hoping I'm just going to be a happier, healthier, better version of me so that I can live a good life and offer a good me to helping others. That's what I want my life to be anyway, and I can't do that where I am right now. So I'm going to continue to record my journey going forward, and I'm going to do my best to spread awareness to people to help them to realize that these symptoms are debilitating. It starts very slow. You blame it on everything but your boobs back when it's just being tired. You think, oh, it's just stress and life and whatever. But you get sicker all the time. And once you get really sick, you look back and you realize, holy crap, all along, it was my boobs. So that's it. Long story. Powerful story, though, I hope. And I hope it speaks to everybody who watches it. Bye.